Should be live.
Okay. Welcome everybody to the Node.js security team meeting. Last one of January. Before start, does anybody have any announcement? I think it's worth to mention that. Oh, looks like I'm not using my microphone correctly. But yeah, secret release went out. So if you are using safe version, yeah. So check if you are using an insecure version of Node.js by running npx is my node vulnerable. Um, if you are, please upgrade. And also, it's important to mention that with this secret release, we have also issued CVEs for end of life versions of Node.js. Since Node.js 0 to Node.js 21, we have three new CVEs, one affecting 17 and prior, and one for 19 and one for 21. We are still discussing about the CVE, but the idea is to have you upgrading your servers as soon as possible. Please include your name to the minutes. And moving on, we have the vulnerability review. Let me see if we have something. Nothing. We don't have anything since last meeting. Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah, I was just looking to see if there was any
Next
that
one
we
is the
could.
OpenSSF scorecard monitor review. I don't think we have a new update this week because Ulyss is not here. I think it's yesterday was his birthday, so
Okay.
I think he's enjoying a bit.
That's good.
So let's skip for this time. I don't think we will have anything uh, significant on this. The next one is the Node.js/Node add WDAC integration for Windows, and I think um, that's why Robert is here, right?
Yep. Yep. Hey everyone. So I was just gonna touch base
We
again.
can't hear you.
Oh,
I can hear him.
Oh, no, looks
Raphael, I
like
think that
I
might just
can't
be
hear
it.
anyone.
Let me chat with.
Okay, now it's better.
Hello.
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So I just want to touch base again since the last time that we had time to sync was right before the new year. So in that time, I believe I've addressed at least I think I've addressed the remaining feedback on the pull request. The original commenters haven't got back to me. I'm not sure what the expected timeline for stuff like this is, but I'm just kind of curious uh, how long to let them linger, or specifically like uh, who I need approval from to get sign off on the pull request. And then on top of that, or in addition to that, we have got a couple of teams internally at Microsoft that are looking to start using this feature and kind of like beta testing it for us. So I was curious, kind of what the next steps in the release pipeline would look like if they can get some access to some like pre-flight builds of Node or something like that. Sorry, that was
Okay.
two questions at the same time, but
Okay. Regarding who needs to sign up, I mean, our usual workflow is if we have two collaborators approving the request and no one rejecting changes, it should be good to go.
okay,
The only thing is that your I will ask to run the tests now for your request. I didn't see the latest updates because I remember I and Yagis requested some changes, so I believe all of the requests were completed. I will take a look on that again. I just requested to run the tests,
okay,
and uh, I think
okay,
I
yeah,
will
that's
take a look on that this week. But the
okay.
idea
Thank you,
is
appreciate
we
it.
have a nightly build. Everything that goes on main, we have a nightly build. I don't know
Okay,
if we have we have a nice binary for that. I think we only have the build. I need to check, but in any
Okay.
case, you can build the Node.js yourself and share the binary. It should work on pretty much any Windows, I
I
guess.
For some reason, I'll look while we talk, but I have a feeling we have downloads for nightly ones, but I'll look while we look, while we
Okay.
talk.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, I will put to my backlog to take a look again to this pull request.
Okay, perfect.
Uh,
Yeah, I'm
and
just putting into the chat, like, these are our nightly builds.
Okay, so there are actual like release artifacts for that they can just download then.
Yeah, like this last, here's the link for, I mean, it won't include that PR obviously since it hasn't
Yeah.
landed. Once it
Yeah.
lands, like there's the links for last night.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
yeah, and just one thing, if you have, for instance, there are a lot of request changes in the pull request. So if you have completed those requests, click
Mhm.
on resolve conversation just to people know that it might be ready to another review.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Okay. Yeah, I think that's probably what I have not done that might be as
yeah,
okay,
that's
cool.
fine.
I'll do
Yeah, if
that
it's been
then.
a little while, it never helps. Like, it doesn't hurt to say, like, hey, I've addressed all of your, like, I often state very clearly, I think I've addressed all of your questions, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, that makes sense.
Um,
I can go ahead and do that then. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Another thing I suggest, since is this pull request is from 2024
Yeah.
August, I would rebase it on main just to make
Okay.
sure you get the latest updates and see that it won't conflict.
Uh, I think I've been doing that. I've been following the
Oh,
merge request guidance in the Node.js.
okay.
But
Yeah.
if there's something that I'm doing wrong about it, just please let me know and I'll
No,
figure it
no,
out.
just asking because
Okay.
usually when the pull request is old or takes a lot to land, we need to rebase it several times
Okay.
just to make sure things is okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Fine.
I mean,
That's
and
amazing.
just to follow up with that aspect, this is like the first project of this size that I've ever worked on, and I think I followed the rebase instructions all
Mm-hmm.
right. But if there's any like kind of Git weirdness that I might have done, just please let me know. I'll figure it out.
Okay. Yeah,
We
no
end up
worries.
squashing everything, so
Oh, okay.
it should hopefully end up, as long as it's like, it doesn't say right now, like it doesn't say there's conflicts or anything, so.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I just
That's
rebased right before I pushed these changes up, so that was probably last week at some point. I can do that again, but cool. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that info, and I'll forward the info onto our teams looking to try this feature out.
Mhm. Okay, amazing. Um, the next one is for the Node.js security working group repository. We have the threat model, but this usually takes some time. Then I suggest just to talk briefly about the audit build for dependencies and automate security releases.
Yeah,
Michael?
that one, the containers are there being used. My next steps are looking at I did take a look at the updaters for Amaro and for the CGS module Lexer. They could both use some work to make them more repeatable for us. So that's what's on my list. Probably cutting a release of CGS module Lexer just so that there is a release with the versions, and then looking at how I update the updater to actually build from our repo as opposed to installing through npm.
Okay. For automation of security release process, yesterday I wrote the blog post I'm going to share with Alpha Omega next Monday. We did a lot of improvements since December 2024. We will share it in a blog post, but it's a lot of improvements since you can now create releases by just running an action. You can promote releases by run just one command and of course checking the workflow, and you can also sync the staging branch by also running just one command, and the security release process is also way smaller. So I think we are we made a very good progress, and I'm very happy with the result, and I'm happy to share it in a blog post. This issue will still be on the radar, or will still be in the secret work group agenda, because there are still more we can do. It's a lot of steps, so we still need to find some ways to send the emails to the Node.js SAC group. And this is also another thing that I would like to discuss in a separate issue, of course. But should we still need to use the Node.js SAC? Because we have a FAQ on the Node.js. We have a RSS on the nodejs.org, and that should be the point where people should get their updates. But that's out of discussion now. All right. Let me just update the minutes so we can go to the threat model. Okay. For the threat model, we have two requests open. Two. One for the Docker team as a resource, and one to add the binary generation threat to the threat model. The first one is the Docker team. They didn't. Okay, we have an approval from one person from Docker. I think it's good to land. What do you think, Michael? This request is in the chat. Oh.
Yeah, I think it's what we discussed, right, in the meeting, so.
Yeah, we have just asked Dan for a review to see if things is.
Yeah, and they seem to, so I'm gonna add my +1 too, so.
GitHub is very slow today. Okay, and the second, let me merge that. And the second one is the add binary generation threat. I have also updated the or hack MD to make sure things is okay. Okay, there's a review I didn't see from Ulysses. I will need to update. In any case, I'm opening the hack MD for the maintainer threat model. And the idea now is to talk about other threats that could affect the Node.js project. So I think we are at the point of just a brainstorm. Let me just log in. This is the issue we are discussing. I'm sending in the chat. Okay, we have deleting repos, Slack org, things like that. I think deleting repos is okay. It's okay to consider as a threat. The Slack org, I think it's out of our scope.
Sorry, did you paste the doc we're editing in the chat? I'm just looking.
Yeah, I sent in the chat the issue. In the issue, there is a link to the.
Oh yeah, okay, it's at the top. Sorry, I'm just being blind. Thanks.
Right. Okay. So um, Okay, so I think we can start with deleting repos. That should be very simple, but I don't know if we should consider the Slack one.
I think that like we have in the resources, we have Slack and stuff like that.
I don't think so. We have just Zoom and email and PM, and that's it.
Then Slack would be similar, although I don't think, I'm not sure who can actually access.
Yeah, just OpenJS Foundation.
So, but like email, it's kind of good to list all the things we depend on though, right? Like, so maybe we should be adding in, I'm just taking a look at what we have in our security. Because we do depend on Slack, right? So but it could be as simple as like, yeah, nobody has access to do that. So we're great on that, right?
Yeah, my only feeling is that the table or
Sure.
the list of resources is big, so we will just make some noise, and I feel that at some point people will just ignore.
The question is Zoom the only thing that's missing, or is it a bunch of things like that, right? Like,
For resources, we have npm account, YouTube, Zoom, 1Password, social media accounts, and email, and HackerOne and Mitri.
it just seems like if Zoom's the only thing, then we should probably just add it. If there's like 50 others, then maybe we need a simplification thing, but
Okay.
or we could try and group those into like, is there anything else Zoom would be grouped into with? Probably not. Like that's kind of a category of its own, right? The real-time chat, or
I
like if
think
we had
so.
two of them,
Yeah, if we make like Discord official, we could merge both,
right?
but
And then we could have like Discord slash, and like that's just as a simplification, even if there's, people could only delete one of them or something, it could be the same thing.
okay. Um, right. So it's fair to create a thread for destroying. I was thinking about something more generic, like uh, not just destroying the repositories, but destroying like repositories, infra altogether. I think it they are separate categories, right? We can't merge them.
Yeah, although they can still be under one threat, right? Because like if it's all under, if it's like deleting repos could be under something else as well, like destroying, I don't know if there's the threat of like deleting the code that we need to, like the bits and pieces we need to build node, right, is maybe different than impairing the ability of the project to do day-to-day work, but
Mm,
I don't know.
okay. Okay. Um,
The calendar is another interesting one, right? Like deleting the calendar, because I don't think we have the calendar in our list of assets either. Resources.
no, we don't have the calendar.
So that might be worth adding as well, just as like we did find that people complained when we destroyed our calendar.
So let me create a to-do here in that
Sure.
document. To-do. Okay, add calendar to the resources. For the
It was
okay,
also
thread
like
name.
add slot to resources, right?
Okay, destroy Node.js repositories. I think for the table, it should be different. We should use the themes instead, right?
So what do you mean by that? Like that in our matrix, it would be like which groups would be able to do that, right?
Yes, yes. Because usually for the threads, for instance, for the binary generation thread, we are using the resources as a column because we are creating like a basic matrix that says if you have write access to node.js/org, you can inject malicious code to node.js. If you have read access to the private secrets, you can inject malicious code to node.js. But for the destroying repos, it's basically about themes and not the resources, right?
But the question is it that we should just like have the one threat which is impairing, like, is it, is it the one threat which is impairing the ability of the project to do day-to-day work? And I guess where I'm getting at is should it be something more general? And then
Yeah,
the
I was
Node.js
thinking about it.
repositories just are one of those resources, right? Like if it's sort of like if you destroy our calendar, that impaired our work. If you destroyed the repos, that like impairs our work. So I can see they all go under there. The only thing where I was wondering is if, like, is there another category of threat where you basically delete permanently? Like it's not impairing the project. It's like you delete the code, you delete all of our code, we can no longer operate, right? Like, and we can't get it back. Like that would be a different category of things than impair.
So like destroyed resources would be a good name.
Um, yeah, I don't know though. I'm like, is that different than impairing our ability? Like with the impairing the ability in the extreme being like, well, we just can't continue to work at all. And so like deleting repos maybe just does fall under that impairing the ability threat. Just chatting out loud, like whether the destroyed resources should really be something separate or not.
Okay.
We might just leave it under impairing the ability of the project to do day-to-day work and see if that,
Okay.
does it not cover it well enough is.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I just don't know exactly how to make the table in that case because we are basically using the columns as a resource. And if we make it generic enough, the resource won't be enough. We will need to also list the ability of
I think
affecting day-to-day
though
work.
it's like, right, and it's, I guess, because there's a little bit of like how severely, right?
Mm.
Because if you delete the repos, that's more of an inconvenience than just deleting the calendar.
Yeah.
Although no, but that will come out through, like, in the resources, we can see who can, like, impairing the ability of the project to do day-to-day work. And then if we do it across the resources, we'll basically see who, like, who actually could do that, right? And on what resources, right? Because like if we look at the table, it's going to end up being under that impairing the ability. It would be like, we've got some repos, so it would be like, um, deleting repos, then in the repos, we would list like the people who could actually delete those repos, right?
The list of people or the minimum
Well, the list of
access?
groups, right? Like it would be like the contributors, the build team, and whatever levels, like, the
I
same list of users that we've already used, right?
Yeah, but what we normally use is minimum access. If we still
Right.
use that, that won't make sense because it's of course it requires admin access to that repository to destroy it.
Right, which is fine. It'll basically show that like the TSC members are the ones who could impair the ability of the
Yeah,
project to do work by deleting the repos. And we can look at
yes.
that and say, yeah, okay, that's fine, right? And then like the deleting the calendar, it'll show some other group who could do that, right? And that's so we would end up with that matrix that says like who could, it's kind of like the other ones, I think, like, who can get in like, malicious binaries. Well, it's not just one way of doing it. It's like there's different people who can do it through different places, and we can look at, you know,
Hmm.
whether we think whether it's okay. Like, first it'll be like, okay, well, say people who have access to the calendar can impair the project's thing, so yes. And like there'll be some groups who'll be like, no, right? And then
Yeah.
we'd still need to look at it and say like, okay, is that particular one acceptable or not, right?
Okay. So would you change the column name? We have resource, description, and minimum access. So I
No,
think instead of
I think we need them to be exactly the same for all of them.
okay, so
Otherwise,
the only thing is that we need to say in the description what how they can affect the day-to-day work.
exactly, right? Yeah, like it would be, you know, because they can delete repos and like, some of the things that are repos, it would be, and then in some other ones, like, yeah, we can add a comment that basically says, that clarifies why they could do that, right?
Okay. So for instance, for the first one, hacker one, if you
Yeah.
have write access to the hacker one, actually, even if you have write access, it doesn't mean you can delete things. I think if you have admin access to hacker one,
Yeah.
you can exclude the Node.js project
Right.
from
You
hacker
could
one.
you could mess it up, right? But it should show us that like the minimum access is going to be um admin. Yeah. And when we do the cross product, like the only people with admin are the TSC members, right? So
Yep. Okay. For the Mitri, I don't think even if someone deletes the Mitri, it won't really affect the day-to-day work. It's very simple because if someone deletes, we create when we want to use, and that's it. We don't use Mitri for anything else, just for collaborations with other teams, so we can pass different handlers, and
yeah, I
that's fine.
agree, right? Like that, yeah, I don't see
Okay, so node private, I think is the same if you have admin, because even if you
yep.
write to the node private, it doesn't exclude
Yeah, I
anything.
know, I agree. Yeah.
The repository.
The only question I would have there is like, could people now mess up your automation?
For node private, no. For security release, if someone have a right access to the, because one thing is, okay, someone could mess up the automation by changing the security release repository.
Okay.
But if I simply look to the, yes, that's correct. It would be hard to restore the original state if they force push, for instance. So if you have minimum access of
Right.
write, you
Yep.
can mess.
Yep.
Okay. Um, list, excluding the list of current secret release. I don't know if it makes sense. So if you have read access, yes, to the private keys, I think you can mess up because,
Yeah,
that's-
basically you can, if you have read access, you can go in and then delete a bunch of other things, right? And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, if you just share the secrets, we are screwed.
yeah,
For Node.js node, I think if you have write access,
Yep.
you can push things that will break your main.
yep.
I think
Well, or you,
that
yeah, you could,
there's no description because you can do a lot more.
yeah.
Node.js dependencies, not sure about that.
I think that's still a right, like if you could impair it, like it would cause us grief if like, for example, like then you start to mess with or delete the repo contents,
Yeah, I
the
think,
things we
for
depend
instance,
on, right?
on Node.js dApps, we are also including the working groups. And for instance, we store the vulnerability database on security working group. And if someone just deletes that,
Yeah,
we are saying that this my node vulnerable, a package that is now
Right.
owned by Node.js will not work anymore.
yeah. So I think right.
Deleting repos, not package relies on it. Yes, we have also PK.js that relies on Node.js release to get the list of latest releases and things like that. So yeah, that makes sense. For the build, Node.js build, I think write access as well. It's the same. It falls in the same category, I guess. Docker node, I have no idea. I think possibly write. NPM account write as well. For those, I will make it. I have no idea, but I believe right.
I think
This
even
one.
though the tank, yeah, like the test, it would be a write to me, right? Like if you've got write access to Jenkins, you could like delete our flows and that would be,
Yeah. Sounds fair. So right. Build infra. Yes, I think for all of them will be right as well. Website infra. YouTube, for YouTube, I think if you have right access, you can affect the day-to-day workflow because you can exclude I don't know if because on YouTube either you have right okay, you have the admin level as well. So I think for YouTube maybe admin. What do you think? Because technically someone with right access to YouTube, they can just schedule and go live. My question is,
yeah, now
can
that
it
would,
affect the day-to-day workflow?
like, I think that might be a different, I guess you would, they could affect our day-to-day meetings, but it's kind of, it gets into like how severely, right? Like they could cause us some inconvenience, but I don't see it being a huge
Yeah, so
problem,
admin should
right?
be the better
Yeah,
because
maybe.
if
Yeah.
someone delete, it will delete all the previous meetings and things like that. Previous record meetings. For the Zoom, I think I don't know if yeah. I mean, all the calendar is scheduled based on Zoom. I think if someone has admin level and deletes that.
I think admin level, yeah. Let's,
One password, yes, I think it's just read.
yeah, I think so.
Social media account, I think right.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yep.
Node.js stack is also right because if someone from Node.js writes to that email sending a new binary, for instance, it can be a vector of attack.
Yeah, although that could be a different, like, I'm not sure that really impairs the day-to-day work of the project. Like we could continue to go and publish binaries and all
Okay.
that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
but like it is a social engineer. So maybe it's like social engineering to download and install malicious binaries is where that would fall into, right?
Yeah, and but this is a different threat, right?
Yeah.
So maybe here is just admin. So
I
if
would
someone
almost put
deletes
like
the group,
I would almost be like it's kind of like what level does this, so sure, let's say admin, why not? Yeah.
yeah, because I mean it's part of our security release workflow, but Mitri is not part of that. That's why that's empty, I guess. For IO
Yeah.
aliases, I have no idea.
Yeah, I would say admin, like we actually use those aliases. So for example, if those were messed up, um, I guess more maybe right is what I'm gonna actually say.
Okay,
Like,
if you have right access to the repository, you mean you can change the alias.
yeah, and that basically like we use those on, say, for example, on the build working group, we use those as the emails for like, two-factor authentication, different things and stuff. So like if they're not there, if they don't forward on the stuff, I think they definitely could affect our day-to-day stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think that's I don't think we have related CVs. I will take a look on that. I think that's it. Ah, okay. We can add the calendar and also the Slack.
Yep.
Node.js calendar. And Slack. For the calendar, right is okay. And for the Slack, admin possibly.
Yeah. And we, maybe we don't know. None of us are admins or some
Yep.
small group is, so.
Okay. The next one is okay.
I think that we just did that one, right?
Yeah,
So maybe,
we just
yeah,
did
just
this.
move that up above.
So social engineer.
But I think you want to add what you just deleted on top of, oh, I see we had,
Okay,
or at
this
least
name.
like it's good to have that deleting repos, destroying info, like put that in
Hmm.
the intro part, right? Like I think that's, yeah. There you go. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Uh, social engineering to make people download, install malicious binaries.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I think that's what we just talked about. So let me include that here. We remove that intro. And yeah. So for hacker one, I'm not sure. I think that's non-applicable. I mean, we could technically tell the reporter to download this binary, blah, 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 blah. But I don't know if that, I mean, that won't affect thousands of people, right?
Yeah, no, I think it would be more, yeah, we don't want to include everything again necessarily. So maybe like we want the things which are more specific to that.
Okay.
Like certainly, like for example, Node.js sec. That would
Yeah.
that would be an obvious one, right? And I'm just trying to think what else would be an obvious, like the website infra would probably be another one, right?
Website infra, yes. No, but the website infra is not any engineering socio. It's like changing the binary completely. I think for social is just the social medias like email, social media accounts, Slack, and that's it.
Okay, well, why don't you copy the whole table and we can put in the.
Oh, do you think for the other ones we should just not include?
Well, I think like we should have the full table for like so you've got or maybe I'm not looking okay, yeah, there we go. No, yeah, you already got it. I just hadn't scrolled.
Yeah, yeah.
Never mind. Yeah, I think so like are there any of the others that are so node private security release secrets, node deps, build, Docker node, no car utils, NPM account. The NPM account, I think would that
Uh,
no,
I
that's
don't
more
think
like
that
no, you're
falls
right.
in
That's not
social
social
engineering.
engineering.
For
Yeah, I think
YouTube, I
really
think
like
yes.
Node.js sec would be the one that I can think of because that's the only
I,
place we really
I think social, I think YouTube as well.
yeah, if you could write something that's yeah, possibly.
And Slack as well.
Slack, I would agree, like, in there that would make some sense.
Oh, I think that's it, right?
The only thing I wonder is like we've got website infra, but we don't actually have the website. Like if you this for this one, if you could modify the like if you got something published on the website.
We have we used to have nodejs.org, but
So I think that would be yeah, that seems to me like something maybe we want, right? Like or is that
um,
hmm, yeah.
yeah, it's not here. Weird.
Because it's kind of like it's another thing like, like YouTube or like
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Because if you could manage to write something and like anybody on the website team can, even if they don't have access to the infra, they can approve landing a banner on the website which says download new security releases, right? Now we
Yeah,
probably noticed
but
that, but
yeah, but technically, if they can do that, they can also change the link to a different binary. That I think that falls in a different category, which is malicious release binary generation in the release build process, I guess.
well, but they could do
Or
that as well. Like so, but that might be like, did we go we should revisit our like the vectors for getting people to down like it's actually but it's not quite the same. Like there's one threat where you actually get it into our official binaries, right? They're signed, they're everything like because so for example, the website team couldn't necessarily get people to download our signed binary, like the valid binaries which are signed. So it's
yeah,
kind
I
of
think
like
that makes sense. That makes sense.
where so this is different and it's kind of like we could get you to download something which isn't the one and use it now. Yeah. So
Okay,
so
let
I
me
think
include that.
yeah, but having access to the website and landing stuff there definitely falls into the social engineering side of things. possibly even into some other things. When we add that in, we'll need to look at the other ones and say,
Mm-hmm.
what impact does that have too, right?
Okay. Adding that now. So if you have right access, I think you should be able to make some mess. Just added. I think now it's good.
The read for one password, that gives us access to, oh no, sorry, I'm still looking at the wrong one. Okay, so yeah, so basically, yeah, you have right access to nodejs.org, our YouTube, social media accounts, email, Slack. Yeah, I think that's definitely a good starting point. And
Maybe Zoom, if you host a meeting.
if you have access to Zoom, you could host a meeting, but you couldn't get it. Like somebody would need to join the meeting to see it, because like
Yes.
you need access to YouTube for it to be streamed.
Yes, but okay. Yeah, but I mean, we create the calendar, and in the calendar we have the links to the Zoom pass to the Zoom meeting. So if the people with right access the meeting before and try to host the meeting, for instance, they may.
Maybe it's more the calendar, because like if you could put something in the calendar,
Oh yeah, yeah,
you can get them.
yeah.
Like it doesn't need to be our Zoom, it could be
Uh-huh.
whatever link, right? So I think, yeah, the calendar one makes sense to me.
Okay. Sounds good. I think that's it.
Yep, no, I think that's a good, like, and other people may give us some, think of other wins, but this is certainly yeah.
Just put a comment to the a malicious actor can change the meeting link to another one, and I think that's it. Okay. The next one is malicious code in npms published by the project. I don't know if that's too different from the malicious code in binary generation.
I was thinking we should start with that. And then we can see, like, if we took what we have for the malicious binaries, just copy that, put it in there and see if
Uh-huh.
it's any different.
Okay.
I suspect it'll be slightly different in that it'll take less.
Okay. So
But
malicious code in npms published by the project. For a hacker one, no, it's non-applicable.
yeah.
Me3 as well. Node private also non-applicable. Secret release non-applicable. Secrets, I think, read, because you can get access to the npm tokens, I guess. I don't know if on secrets we have that.
Yeah, I think we have some, it's either secrets or one password. So I would say basically, yeah, if you have read access to those.
Okay. For Node, as it's non-applicable as well, because we don't publish Node.js via npm. For dependencies, I guess if you have right access to
Yep.
okay, it's not. We have changelog maker, we have other things, and yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
For the build, no idea.
I don't think so.
Yeah, for npm doesn't matter. Node core you choose a right access, and Node.js org non-applicable. npm account right access, of course.
Yep.
And then we don't have anything else.
Maybe one password if you have read access.
Oh, yeah.
We'd have to go check exactly which one, but like I think we're using them interchangeably, so.
Okay, let's compare with the malicious code one. For the malicious code in the code base, we have, okay, yeah, it changes a bit. But basically, let me check one thing. Yes, it doesn't change. To be honest, the only thing is the npm one is a subset of the malicious code in the Node.js code base.
Right. I think it's still interesting to include because, like, you
Okay.
might argue that, like, if you have a malicious node binary versus a malicious node npm, somebody might argue like it's more likely somebody downloads, a malicious npm than a node binary, or
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's separate for now. Like we can always combine them. We've gone through it.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. We can combine them later if needed.
Yeah.
I think that's it. For the other things like communications, I think it's more about social engineering, I guess.
Yeah, I think we
And
already covered that in the social
yeah,
engineering.
official Docker images we already covered.
I
So
think so, yeah.
let's stolen credentials, I think.
Yep.
I don't know.
I think we covered that. Like that's covered in like the actual threats are it's covered in like what do you do once you've stolen those, right?
Okay. Okay, makes sense. All right, the official documentation. This one we didn't. I think I think that's also covered in the social engineering because we have included nodejs.org, and technically if someone changes the official documentation to download from another place, I think that falls in the social engineering threat.
Yeah, maybe we just expand it to be like the description says social engineering. Like if we go, it says social engineering to make people download and install malicious binaries. If we expand that to or run malicious code.
to run malicious code. I
Yeah,
think
social engineering to make people download, install malicious binaries or
to run malicious code. I think that that gets everything.
yeah. We
Okay.
might expand a little bit, but yeah, I think at the high level that yeah, we could then have like so for some of the others, the individual. The thing is then that like, okay, well, we've got some instructions in Node.js Node, so probably if you have write access to that, you could do that as well.
To Node.js/node.
Yeah, like we've got our
Oh, because the
contributing guide.
documentation, the
Yeah.
documentation is generated from Node.js.node. I
Yeah,
think
and
that,
we have like a contributing section that has examples and how to do things.
yeah.
And but you're right, they're like the API docs are generated from there, so like that's
Okay, that makes sense. That's it then. I'll make sure to include those in the Node.js
yep.
security working group. Pull requests, I will just wait for the current ones to open to be merged, and then I will go ahead and open the next ones.
Yeah, that sounds good. And the yeah, definitely sounds good. And then we can what we want to do is do the cross product to say, okay, for each of these threats, which, I guess we could do it different ways. It's like for each threat, who has the ability to do something, or we could say, like, let's try and do the calculation that says, so for our collaborators, what can they do?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think that's how the whole thing started was like, okay, what impact can our collaborators have?
Okay.
And this should let us do the calculation of like, okay, well, a collaborator with write access can do blah, 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 right? And like, then we can say, okay, well, is that, are we comfortable with that? Are there things we can tighten down and so forth, right? And similarly, we'd want to go through the list and say like, okay, the people who have these different levels of access, what can they actually do?
Mm-hmm.
And is
Yeah,
it,
and
is
then
there,
we
is that a
evaluate
big
that.
risk?
Yeah.
What's our biggest risks out of that, right?
Yep.
We almost want a program that's going to go through the data to figure that out, but like getting, we've now got a good enough set of data that we could start to do some analysis there.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
I think that's it. So thank you everybody for joining the meeting. Thanks for participating. So I hope to see you all in 2 weeks. Bye bye.
Thanks. Okay, thanks. Talk to you later. Bye.